Lyle from Brown's Roofing in Edmonton. How's it going, man?
Everything's going great. Just the usual, staying busy. I would say this is our busiest year. It's August 17th today, I believe. And everything's going good.
Good. And today you wanted to talk about leak assessments, leak assessments.
So I just wanted to, try to explain everyone, I guess, the process of a leak assessment, well, specifically with Browns. And then just, I guess, share a few different things that, we've been dealing with and going through.
Sure. So let's get started. Someone calls you up and says, hey, I think I have a roof leak. What do you do?
So first we get all their information. So the address, their first name, last name, email, all that kind of stuff. We try our best to get as much information in terms of where the leak's coming in, if they have any photos, things like that. So, and then we could kind of, base it off the information they provide us. We could, give them either a quote on the spot or we'll have to charge them an actual leak assessment fee to come out there to properly figure out what's going on with their roof leak.
Okay, so what is your process in trying to discover where the leak's coming from?
Like I said, it depends. Like in some cases, I got to bring an extra guy in. I have one guy on the roof. He's spraying a hose. I'm in the attic space, waiting for the drip to come in. In other cases, if it's like a vaulted ceiling, we might have to cut drywall out. Because like a lot of leaks, like you're not going to see them on the roof. Like you could go on the roof, you could look in that area and sometimes I would say 40-50% of the time you're not going to see where that water is getting in. Mm-hmm. And in some cases it's multiple areas.
Okay.
So, it could be a little crack in the vent, it could be a seam nail, and a lot of it is just like, poor workmanship. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So for a lot of the, for example, for a lot of the roof assessments, leak assessments we've been doing all year, most of it was like poor workmanship. A lot of these roofs aren't even like 10, 15 years old. Mm. Yeah. So
what kinds of things are you finding?
So like I said, one of the recent ones I did was, it was a vaulted ceiling. I knew it was going to be hard to assess because I told the homeowner, look, I'm going to start it on the roof. If I can't find it, we're going to have to cut some of your drywall out. So right above where the water was coming in, there was a vent. So that was the first area I went to assess, I guess you could say. And upon removing, the shingles around that vent, I found a nice little gash in the top of that vent. But you can't see it until you do the removal. In that case, it was just poor workmanship. The roofer, for some reason, either accidentally cut the vent when he was installing it or just thought it wasn't going to leak. And that came on the last heavy rainfall that we got when the rain was like blowing sideways from all different directions. Mm. So, they could be a little tricky to find, but you have to hire the right person to come in and assess these problems.
Yeah, water always finds a way.
Yes, that's right. It finds its way in at some point. So, yeah.
And when it comes to, you said finding the right person to come in and do that assessment, how many years have you been in the roofing industry?
Like just under 20 years. So, we got a lot of experience.
So you've seen it all.
Yeah. So, much. No, I've seen everything. So I've seen that water get in and like you wouldn't even expect like the tiniest little nick in the roof that you will not find. You will not find unless you're actually spraying it for like, half hour straight. And then finally you see the drip come in. And like I said, in some cases, like I do have to have an extra guy there, right? So I do have to have someone spraying water on the roof while I'm in the attic space with a headlamp, waiting for that drip to come in. And then eventually it comes in and then I'm able to locate the exact area of the water coming into the roof.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do have to charge for these leak assessments. Now, after the repair, do you include that in the repair? Or?
I would say like 8 out of 10 jobs, it's included in the price. So, you know, like we do get some customers, you know, calling like, oh, hey, you know, I just want to get a quote for it, or, you know, but they don't have enough information. So, you know, I tried my best to explain to them like, you know, well, it's not, you know, something that we could just give you a price on right now. And, you know, you don't know how it's getting in, or you don't have any photos. So we do have to charge you. You know, in some cases they opt out and maybe call another company or something.
Sure.
Which is fine, right?
Yeah.
So.
And how many of these turn into like an insurance job?
Well, I would say 50% of them do. Yeah. They end up going through insurance. And then what we do though is we just do like in emergency cases, like let's say it's raining, we'll figure out how it's getting in. We'll do the the patchwork, whether it's blown off shingles or whatever it may be, and then we'll just provide all the photos and a description so that they could contact the insurance company and they'll get reimbursed from their insurance company. Yeah.
And how often does this turn into a complete roof replacement?
Yeah, we've got a handful of full roof replacements from it for sure. Yeah, because it'll like some of the houses are just the roofs are just at that point they need to get changed out, and you know they're gonna keep blowing off. So you know you might as well just get it done. So you know it's generated a handful of roofs for sure. Yeah.
Nice. I guess this year you've been very busy with leak assessments because we've had so much rain.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, it's the busiest we've ever been ever, and you know it's but you know it sucks to say like I would say most of these roofs should not be leaking. Like it's just poor quality, like low quality installs. A lot of the, you know, lower quality companies, I guess you could say, are being exposed.
And how can you tell that it was, you know, a poor installation? Like what are some of the telltale signs?
Well, like I mentioned, right? Like the water will trickle in through a seam nail. And what a seam nail is when two shingles butt up against each other. The installers, if they put a nail in between those two shingles, it like if you look at it in your mind, you're going to think, how the heck is water getting in there? But it gets in there. And you'd be surprised on how many like roofers, they'll leave a ton of seam nails all over your roof. And you're not going to see that. Even an inspector's not going to see that. So that's one way. That's a really common way for the water to trickle into your house. And then other ways are just like overdriven nails and, they're just not caulking certain areas where, you know, they just kind of overlooked or made that assumption they didn't need to add caulking there. Just things like that. And then for the blown off shingles, again, they're nailing the shingles like too hard. So they're over driving. And then once the wind comes in, there's nothing really holding them down to the roof. So that's why we're seeing like most of the blow off. It's just from poor workmanship.
I see. So it's like the nail blasted through the shingle.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So they just put them in too hard and too deep. So then when the wind comes, it just blows the shingles everywhere. Yeah.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot more sense and, gives people a perspective of what's going on and what a quality job is and what isn't. Because, let's be honest, people who are getting their roofs done, they're not climbing up there to inspect it and look at it, right?
That's right. That's right. And that's why you really have to do your research. You have to go with a company that, is a reputable company that's, I guess, active on social media, that, basically has a good reputation. That's what it comes down to, really.
Yeah.
Because a homeowner's not going to see like if the shingles were nailed with, low quality nailing, I guess you could say. Even the inspector, like most companies are like, oh yeah, we inspect the roofs, but like, are the inspectors going up there, pulling up every shingle to check if they're nailed properly? No, they're not. They're just, if it looks good, they're assuming it's good. So,
right. Yeah. And, did they leave all the junk in your gutters or
exactly
something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. And that too, right. And that's another thing we do. We provide pictures, all of our roof replacements, right? So we don't just say, hey, we cleaned your gutters 100%. Like here's actual photos. Like, we go out of our way to take as many photos as possible.
Is there anything I missed about the roof leak assessments that I forgot to ask?
No, I think that covers it for the most part. Like I just kind of wanted to explain, like, sometimes, the work that goes into these assessments and the time is, could be lengthy, I guess you could say. And it is a bit of a process. So just make sure you're hiring the right company to do these assessments, because, a lot of times, like, I'm dealing with customers where I'm like the third roofer that's came in. They still haven't figured out what's going on. So the first roofer changed a vent. The second roofer changed a couple of shingles, and it's still leaking. So I'm the third one. So I know this is going to be, a bit challenging. So it's important to make sure you're hiring the right, company that has that experience, right? To assess the leak properly, so you're not spending, potentially thousands of dollars.
Right.
Right. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Lyle, for stopping by and sharing some information with us about roof leak assessments. And, if anybody has need of a roof leak assessment, they should call Brown's Roofing.
Yes, give us a call.
All right.